Hey YouTube, Artichoke Dip here. I'm going to talk about what I like to refer to as the Edition Wars. And of course, I'm talking about Dungeons and Dragons. If you're new to the hobby, welcome. I hope you can get some information out of here that will help you and put some myths to rest. Now, before I start this video in the topic, I will tell you if you have visited Facebook or any other social media outlet out there, you'll notice that there's groups for tabletop RPG, and most of them, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 of them, are for Dungeons and Dragons. And if you go in there, you notice there's different editions, and that's where the edition wars begin. You have people who have only played one edition, and they are so dead set that that edition is the absolute perfect, the nexus of the game genre itself, that no other game system holds up to it. And if you so much as even talk about, well, hey, I like this out of this edition, they shun you. I find that ridiculous, childish, and close-minded, to be honest with you. So with that being said, I want to talk about the different editions. Now, D&D started out with basic D&D, published by TSR, Tactical Service Rules, and basic D&D was a classic old school dungeon crawl style RPG. The classes were basic, weapons are basic, everything about it was very basic. It took you less than 5 minutes to create a character. Within 10 minutes you're playing a game. In the first box set that you got, that came with your player's guide, your DM's guide, came with your 6 polyhedral dice and a copy of graph paper for you to make your own dungeon. It only allowed you to go from 1st to 3rd level, and then you had to buy the second box. One thing I can say about the basic D&D system is if you want to try to play solo RPGs, that is the best system to do it with, because it is so simple. It is very simple, and the game moves very smoothly. So, but a lot of people wanted more. And then TSR released the second installment, which was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is better because it had more diversity. And at that point, you could choose your own race and your own class, and you're only limited by your imagination how you created your character. Whereas if I'm like basic, an elf was a class. Granted, it was a race, but that was also a class. If you were an elf, you were an elf. That was it. End of story. You were an elf. But in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, you could at that point be an elf ranger, or an elfin fighter, or so on and so forth. Now, a lot of people who have played newer editions do not like the older editions because they say it's too complicated. They don't understand it. And the way you have to look at it, and I explain it to a lot of people, the older editions, you have to subtract everything. Everything is about subtraction. Whereas at the newer editions, you're adding. Now, for most people, adding is much easier to do in their head than subtracting. Okay, fair enough. The one thing I can say about basic and advanced D&D is their dungeon crawl classic style gaming systems. And if you are looking for some classic dungeon crawl RPG systems, I highly suggest you check out basic or advanced. And I think you would like it. Now, they are out of print and they're pricey. In order to get some really good copies of it, you're going to pay some cash. Which is why I will suggest to you there is a lot of retro clone game systems that are published, still in print, still out there at a very reasonable price. I would suggest getting some of those. Castles and Crusades, Labyrinth Lord, Basic Fantasy, which is a real good one. Basic Fantasy is, I mean, you get the player's manual for like $5, and I believe if you go to RPG Now, you can download it for free. So, with that being said, let's move on. So then after AD&D came 2nd edition AD&D. 2nd edition AD&D, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, is very story-driven. And everything is about the story and how proficient your characters are. And 2nd AD&D put a system in there which confused a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't like it, and it was called THACO. THACO is an acronym for Two Hit Armor Class 0. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, if you're playing a 5th edition game and it's an AC 20, it's an AC 20, which means when you roll your 20-sider, you either have to add up all your bonuses to be at 20 or more in order to hit your opponent. In the older editions, they have what was called AC 0. AC 0 was AC, which you would know today is AC 20. Well, it made things kind of complicated because with certain characters, you would have to consistently be rolling the dice between the neighborhood of 19 to 20 to constantly hit it. So to end a lot of that confusion, they came out with the THACO system. And how the THACO system worked was, as your characters advance in levels and become more proficient as characters themselves, your THACO begins to go down. So everybody starts out with the THACO 19, which means you have to roll a 19 in order to hit Armor Class 0. Now, as you go up, by the time you hit the 3rd level, you're at a THACO 16. So as you can see, the higher up in level you go, the more that reflects on how much more skilled and powerful your character is. Very unique idea. 2nd edition is very fun. I played the hell out of 2nd edition, and that too, if you're looking to run a solo RPG, very good game system. There's a lot more added into the battle as far as speed factor matrices and everything else to influence the actual battle itself on armor, how it reacts from a bludgeoning weapon to a piercing weapon to a slashing weapon, so on and so forth. So, Wizards of the Coast then came out with 3rd edition. And 3rd edition was like the changing point of D&D. And I'm going to say that's when it's like you really saw the beginning of the edition wars. I love 3rd edition. I have a lot of 3rd edition stuff. 3rd edition was great. Simple system, easy to explain. If nobody's ever played D&D before, you can sit them down, you can explain it to them, and people pick it up. But there we've seen the introduction of your skills, your skill ranks, your feats. At that point, character creation, it became a little more complicated and took more time to actually create a character. But once your character was created, it was a lot of fun. And then there were some problems Wizards of the Coast wanted to work out with, particularly the monk and ranger character classes. So then it came out with the 3.5 edition. I picked up the player's book. I thumbed through it, and I'll be honest with you, there's some slight modifications that they made, but for the most part, it was just a reprint of the 3rd edition. I never really bought any 3.5 edition stuff after that. Everything I had was 3rd edition because I didn't see any point in it. So then along came 4th edition. Now, 4th edition, if you are really into miniatures and you really enjoy miniature skirmish battles and the 3D terrain, but you also enjoy role-playing, 4th edition is your system. The whole entire game system is set up with miniatures in mind, and it's actually a miniatures role-playing game system is what it is. A lot of people have knocked it. A lot of people, it's the only edition that I know of it's either people love it or hate it. There's like really no in-betweens with it. I did pick up the introductory beginner's box set and looked it over. There's some things in there that me personally, what I like about D&D and stuff, I didn't like the changes that they made, so I never really purchased anything in 4th edition other than the beginner's box. From there, we went on to 5th edition, which we're currently in now. And 5th edition seemed like there was a lot of eerie similarities between 2nd edition and 5th edition as far as proficiencies, and it seemed like Wizards of the Coast kind of And I know they did do an online survey for this when they developed the game, but they went around and they looked at all the previous editions and seen what people really liked about them. And then they made what we have now as 5th edition. Um, 5th edition is, if you're just getting into the hobby, by far is the best edition for you to get into because it's still in print and books are readily available. And you can still get them at retail value. Older editions, depending on the quality of the book, you're going to pay some money to get your hands on these. So I hope this helps out with a lot of people, especially if you're getting into this hobby. It can be very overwhelming because there are so many editions and so many people have so many different personal tastes that they influence on other people, and they'll tell you, no, this edition is the only edition, it's the best edition, it's the only real D&D. I'm going to tell you this: whatever edition you play, if you have fun, you enjoy it, and you like it, that is the best edition for you. End of story. You do this for fun, and that's the reason why we do it. That's the reason why you spend your hard-earned money on your gaming hobby, is to have fun. I will warn you, if you jump online and you start getting into different groups, those people are going to heavily influence you towards the edition that they like. And with some people, they've never played any other edition, ever. And it's kind of sad, it's the same game, and not even to give it a chance to see what may have changed. But some people are just creatures of habit. So, as I will say, if you've watched my first 3 videos in there, I talk about the best game systems to use is the basic D&D, because it's very rules light and it moves somewhat smooth. Not somewhat, but very much smoother than 3rd, 3.5, 4th, or even, you know what, I haven't played a solo with 5th edition yet, so I can't say 5th edition, and I don't own 4th edition. So I'm basing this off of 3rd edition. 3rd edition is very clunky to play solo. I'm sure there's people out there who probably do, and they have, and if it works for them, thumbs up to you. I'm glad you're having fun. Keep it up. With me, I like the older editions. So, with that being said, where do you want to get into D&D? You want to get into older editions. Some of the better retail, honestly, the best retailer I've found so far for D&D, everybody says try this website, try this gaming site, try that gaming site, try Amazon. Amazon, I found, has been the best gaming outlet out there on the web, particularly because you have so many different buying options that you can buy from, and it goes by the prices from acceptable to, you want a basic D&D box set still in the cellophane and you got the money to pay for it. Hey, can't complain there. So, with that being said, I hope this helped you. Hope it ended some confusion. Maybe if you're getting into D&D, it'll help you decide the perfect edition for you. That being said, Artichoke Dip, signing off.